People are not going to sit by and just watch the world go to hell. They're not going to do that. People are not going to just sit there and starve to death. They're going to actually get out and try to do something to improve their situation. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the Red Sea. The Houthis are continuing to make a nuisance of themselves. They so far have not been able to sink any ships. They've damaged a few. They've not been able to kill any Israelis. They just threaten and they shoot rockets and missiles that way and drones, and none of them make it to Israel. But hold on. Somebody important at the door. Hey, Paulo, come here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Come see Grandpa. Oh, yeah. Well, if Paulo wants to come see me, he can come see me. This is my other grandbaby, Apollo. Who's that? Who's that, Apollo? Huh? Apollo's just, 14 months old? And he's got a baby brother on the way, due in May. Baby number 3. Yeah. Yeah. So the Houthis, again, making a nuisance of themselves. They did manage to capture that one ship, and they still hold that ship, and they're holding hostage the, Filipino and Indonesian sailors that were on the ship, who have nothing to do with Israel. They have nothing to... Oh, there's Ellie. Come here, Ellie. You want to come see Grandpa? Come here, baby. Oh, I got both grandbabies. Yay, we got a whole pile of them. How fun. Look, Ellie. Who's that? Who's that over there? Is she not precious? Oh, my goodness. I am a blessed man. I'm a wealthy, wealthy man. Look at this treasure I'm holding here in my hands. Oh, yeah. They're my babies. You going to get down and go play? Oh, yeah. You're squirrely, aren't you? Come here. Come on. You want to go play with Ellie? You want to stay with Grandpa? Oh. Okay. Have fun. So the problem is the Houthis. That's Grace. That's Mason's wife. Say hi, Grace. The Houthis are eventually going to actually hurt somebody. They're eventually going to, sink a ship, kill some Israelis, or something. If they, they keep throwing the missiles at everything. And so the United States, the UK, Israel, and a couple other countries have moved warships into the Red Sea, into the Gulf of Aden, and into the Indian Ocean, and are now sort of surrounding Yemen. We've got something like 47 warships now that are surrounding Yemen, and there are another 50 or so on the way. So things could be about to get skippy in Yemen. I would not be booking any travel to Yemen if you plan to go there for, your winter break or anything. I mean, Yemen being the garden spot that it is. Would not suggest that anytime soon, because it looks like things might start spontaneously combusting in Yemen, and you don't want to be there for that. So it will be interesting to see if the world has the will, the military will, to actually punish Yemen for what they're doing. I kind of doubt it. I'm sorry, I'm just not real confident in the Western world's resolve when it comes to employing military force in a righteous fashion. I just don't have a lot of faith that they're going to do that. So We'll wait. We'll wait. We'll see. They'll probably conduct a couple of airstrikes or something like that. But the only way to actually not only stop the Yemenis from the Houthis from continuing to do this, but to deter other countries from deciding to do this, is to hit Yemen so hard they don't know what happened. And that's very unlikely to happen. This doctrine that the Western world has come up with of proportionality is very, very ineffective at making the world a safer place. It actually just makes the world a more dangerous place, because proportionality says, well, Yemen is shooting at ships. They've damaged a couple, so we'll shoot at some of their facilities and damage a couple, in a proportional method, so that we're not overdoing it or anything. Whereas if we were to go all out and flatten most of Sana'a or something like that, Yemen we would remove their capability in a large part to actually, conduct offensive operations, but we would also send a message to the world that you don't mess with us. That's one thing that Donald Trump pretty much did right, is he put the word out, you don't mess with us. And people believed him because he was, not because he was a war hawk. If anything, he employed military force less during his tenure than Joe Biden has. But people didn't know what he would do because he was just so crazy. And so he was just, people were like, they really believed he might, drop a nuclear bomb on him or something like that. So that was the way to deter. And I think Trump showed that you can function as a deterrent force without having to resort to massive military force if you do it at the beginning. But if you allow it to go on, if you allow this provocation to go on and on and on and on, and you never do much about it, what you're doing is you're sending a message to our adversaries that we're weak. It's a flaccid response. And so that, unfortunately, I think is the direction that we're going with the Biden administration, is to more, tough talk and not really much action. Lloyd Austin is a milquetoast at best. He goes around and blusters on camera, but then nothing really ever happens. Lloyd Austin is far more concerned with integrating transvestites into the U.S. military than he is with making the military a lethal fighting force. And it's very, very unfortunate, very unfortunate. So, but that's what he's being ordered to do in his defense. So we need to keep an eye on the Red Sea. This could actually end up causing another logistical nightmare, another supply chain problem across the world, because much of the world's commerce flows through the Suez Canal and flows through, goes up there into the Red Sea and everything. And now a lot of that is just paused for the time being. They're not, let's see, Maersk, BP, and some other shipping companies have decided we're just not going to send any ships up in there right now because we don't want to be the one that actually gets sunk and gets some people killed. So we're just going to not go into that area, which, combined with the ongoing crisis with Ukrainian grain getting out of the Black Sea and, things like that. The Panama Canal is very, very low because they're in a drought state right now. And so they've had to dramatically reduce the number of crossings from like 40-ish per day to now 27 or so per day. And that may actually go to 0 because we're just coming into the dry season. And they're already so low that they're talking about they may have to shut the Panama Canal for a time because every crossing of the Panama Canal uses like 55 million gallons of water, and their reservoir there in Gatun Lake is not being refilled. So we may be in for a supply chain crisis like we saw back a couple years ago. Now, I'm not a doomsday, I'm not one of these guys who really enjoys, predicting the end of the world. I have some good friends who that's their shtick, that's their thing. They love to talk about, oh, the world is falling apart, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. We're going into, massive famines. We're going into, the United States is going to collapse by this time next year. Israel is going to collapse and cease to exist as a country. Ukraine is going to lose. And, they just, all bad news, bad news, bad news. I don't like being that guy. And in fact, when the last supply chain crisis happened, many of my friends that are more inclined that way were calling for massive famine across the world within the next 12 months. Well, it didn't happen. I have a file that I've kept since I was a stockbroker back when I became a stockbroker. Well, I really started in the financial services business in 1992-ish. And became a stockbroker, a full-fledged stockbroker in 1995. And I started keeping a file of all these articles that called for the end of the world, the doomsday file. And when I saw an article like that, I'd clip it out and I'd put it in a file. And of course, when we got to the point where digital was more like, the norm, then I quit putting it in a paper file and I started just keeping a folder of it and saving these stories that talk about how the end of the world is coming. And it's instructive to go back and look at those files from time to time and realize that most of the things that people, predict when it comes to the end of the world don't happen. And I think I have figured out why, because if you go back and look through that file, and look at all those predictions of the terrible, terrible, terrible things that are about to happen to us. It's not that they're necessarily wrong on the symptoms. It's not that they're necessarily wrong on the things that they see happening. The skyrocketing debt in the United States, the constrained money supply, the national deficit, the supply chain issues and all those things. Not that those things are necessarily wrong, but what they don't take into account is the ingenuity of the human brain.